Right, hell yeah. This is totally an R1 design video because when we come in here, we do a little side surf and then we heavily edge it right there. You know what I mean? And then we don't get too much of a buck, but then right there we don't heavily edge and we get pieced out. But honestly, it's like edging these R1 rafts is kind of difficult. You know what I mean? Because there's nothing to sit on right here. You might almost feel like you're falling out of the boat, and you know what I mean? Maybe a bigger cockpit and platform and foam this out so you can actually, engage an edge. You know what I mean? Because there's a huge difference between laying this edge and having all of this boat release and then allowing it to hit. Because even when it hits with that full boat released, let's let you watch this a little bit. When that boat releases, I jump to the center portion of the boat, or I let the boat's energy kick out underneath me. And I think there might be more to that, but I think you can see me kind of jump, and let that release underneath. I'm the heaviest mass in here, so as that's hitting, there's two school of thoughts. There's one, and then let's talk about this, because the full breakdown is if I'm actually in the center of the boat and closer in, it's going to bite way early. But if I'm heavily edged, then it might bite way late. And anything that bites way late has more a tendency to carry this whole thing up and over the trough. And then it froze up. But anyway, so if I am farther away, then potentially I want to jump my way back into the low side. I don't really exaggerate it, but I think that's kind of what you want to do to a point, because, hey, this also kind of let off right there, and then here's the wave. But anyway, so hell yeah. But right off the bat, yeah, so that was the one that we heavily edge. So we pop in here, and then we heavily edge. It's going to bite, but we're able to save it. This one, we're not heavily edged, and it just picks up a lot more steam, and it kicks us out. And so even like right here, there's no chance for me to even just jump in, down there. And so so I should kind of back my statements up to saying the two ways to actually hold this surf is to get lower in the boat and in the midsection or low-sided so it hits earlier. If the boat hit like right here, where the boat is like right here in this line, then it's going to push me in the middle of the boat up against this pile, and it's going to stop the rotation. But the farther out I am, the more at risk this time it surfs. But like right here, this is highly going to get you kicked out, because this is going to bite and it's going to carry you all the way out. Now on bigger waves, this is just going to drive you into a flip, because this is so grippy. It's going to turn the boat underneath you, and the boat can't get over the wave. And so that's kind of interesting too, where I don't think I want to talk too much about it, but yeah, this is a heavily edged boat, and this can fully release. In a paddle cat, what happens? Sorry, that's my feet. In a paddle cat, what happens is that you're sitting on this tube, and the other tube is actually into the hole right here, where you can't edge a paddle cat to go up and over and release it currently. And so there is benefits to that, because a paddle cat tube won't be able to ride up this, and it'll always be hitting low, and you'll be kind of on maybe the top of the pile or on one side of the pile where the other tube is holding you in. And so that is kind of the unique difference between the paddle cat. But anyway, I think this video is just showing like an R1 boat, if you're going to edge it, it should be easily edged and easily freed up. And even that, I don't think this hit even needs to happen on a fully V-shaped hole. When this lays in, this shouldn't lay in like this anyway. You know what I mean? I mean, because I technically should be edged. Right there, I'm edged. And that shouldn't drop just with the slightest drop of the hips, and it shouldn't pick up all this steam. And so from an R1 design perspective, that could be improved, and especially on the second hit, just sitting in a neutral position, this is just picking up way too much. And so probably a reduced profile stern, higher rocker, more tip to the stern, and then just lower volume, so you could actually stern squirt it, and then, push the stern into waves, because if you can push it in, it's going to release a little bit slower. Anything to give you more time, but this just instantly builds, drops. It just throws your boat underneath the surface, and it's kind of the worst as. So anyway, all right, you can watch this all the way through. Booyah. All right, hell yeah.